Hello guys, I have the Quality of Life October 2023 game update for you. Let's start! They added a new light sensor building that detects the ambient light level to the game. Right off the bat I thought that this could be used to control the light levels for the beach chair, so that when the night starts and the sun sets, additional light sources are activated based on the light level detected. For this planet I set it to below 11,000 lux for the light bulbs and to below 8,000 for the sun lamp. The same thing can be done for the gas grass. When it is day and there is enough light, no lamps are activated. Now with the help of the sensor, as soon as there is not enough light left, the sensor will detect it and then activate the lamps when required. A quality of life feature has been added to the game as well. If you go to the supply closet, you can now recycle blueprints that you already own. For example, I do have the solid charcoal twice. I can recycle the solid charcoal wall tile for 100 filament. One of the wall tiles has been removed and 100 filament have been added. If we decide on doing that a few times, then we can use the filament to buy new wall tiles, for example. Some of the patterns have a higher value than others. This, for example, has a value of 400 if I recycle it. Let's go to the buildings for a change and then check out the industrial rock crushers. There are some designs that if you recycle them give you 1800 filament, but you will need 7200 to buy this. Some cannot be bought. From a cost efficiency standpoint, I would only recycle things that you have multiples of. This here, for example, I can recycle for a high price because I have 2 of them. Let's see how it looks if you print a blueprint. Printing this gives us the following tab where you can then buy and execute it. And we are already out of filament. They added a critter cargo bay to the spaced out DLC. Note, from now on I will mark the DLC only content in the top left corner. The critter cargo bay gives you an alternative method to transport your critters from one planet to the other. So let's see how this works. You go to the cargo bay, press on it and then choose the critter that you want to transport. In our case we can try to select the hatch, try to select the stone hatch and so on and so forth. You then have to give a wrangling order to catch the desired critters. Remember that you may need a skill for that, and afterwards have the duplicants transport the critter to the critter cargo module. This is hilarious. Apparently you can only store a single critter inside of these cargo bays, and the contents are not shown here to the right. With this new cargo bay you can now transport critter from one planet to another planet. Now let's see how we can unload this thing. Clicking on the rocket and then clicking on remove. We'll remove the critter and just drop it into the abyss wherever you landed. Maybe not the smartest idea to do it this way. Now let's see what happens if we deconstruct this module. Same result as when just dropping it normally. They added a search bar to the storage filter side screen and I'm really happy for that. The same goes, for example, for the critter feeder. They renamed a number of elements solid, liquid or gas states for clarity. For example, you can now find the phosphorus gas. Moose, tufts, slicksters and shinebugs can now be wrangled. Their new idle behavior has been adjusted to make this possible. Of course, the same goes for their hatchling or for their larvae version. Speaking of puffs, they will now consume more of their respective gases when they get hungrier. I guess that means they don't have a linear food consumption anymore. The same goes for slicksters, who will now also consume more of their respective gas when they get hungrier. Critter can now be moved using the move it tool. This can be useful if you want to, for example, move a long-hair slickster into your mess or grate hole, or move a cuddle pip into your personal bedroom. When giving this command, the duplicants will automatically come over, wrangle the respective critter, and then transport them over to the designation. All critters except for betas and morphs are movable, which kinda makes the new critter traps not so important anymore, but it makes it very easy to make an aquarium. They moved buildings to and from the industrial machinery category. Industrial machinery is the category that prevents your mess hall from being a mess hall if you place it inside. For example, if we place a natural gas generator inside of our mess hall, this is no longer considered a mess hall because we do have industrial machinery inside. Now to the buildings that are removed from that category, starting with the conveyor loader. Before, when you had a conveyor loader in your mess hall, it was no longer considered a mess hall. The same goes for the crafting station, the clothing refrigerator and the textile loom. Contrary to that, they also added a few buildings to the industrial machinery category. For example, anything compared to a refinery, like the rock crusher, no longer a mess hall, the steam turbine, the metal refinery, the robo miner, the power control station, the meteor blaster, too big to show here, the blast shot maker, and even the high pressure gas vent. Didn't expect that one. For the DLC only, they added the interplanetary payload launcher to the industrial machinery as well. It is too big to fit in here. The diamond press got added as well, and the sludge press. All of these three now count as industrial machinery. They added the tile artwork for solid plastic and solid ethanol tiles. There is now a liquefiable filter to the materials overlay. We do have the gas filter, the liquid filter, and now we do have the liquefiable filter, giving us a nice overview for liquefiable ice, for example, and snow. The newly added solid ethanol tile also glows bright and green in this overlay. Talking about the material overlay, abyssallite, diamond and sulfur are now also visible in this. You just have to go to the material overlay and select other. Abyssallite will be black, sulfur will be yellow, and diamond will be this light gray bluish color here. In the DLC only, they also added corium, diamond as already mentioned, and solid nuclear waste to the material overlay. I couldn't find any corium, so I used the dev tool to spawn some, and this here is solid nuclear waste. They added an automation port to the plant pulverizer, giving you the option to, for example, fill a liquid reservoir to a certain degree and then shut off the plant pulverizer until you need it again. They added a sweepy emote animation for the critter fountain. They added status items to various stations to see what they are producing, researching or cooking, etc. If you hover over the research station, you can see that the research that is being progressed right now is the power regulation. They also added a critter field guide. You can access it via the database or by clicking on a critter, going to the database and then clicking on critter again. Here is the field guide. There you can learn something about the metabolism, the mood, the reproduction and the domestication. Since this is pretty long, I will not go through this with you. So like everything else in Oxygen Not Included, I recommend you actually do read this. Reading is your friend in the game. They modified the element database entries to show more information about element transitions caused by temperature. Here in the top right, for example, you can see when liquid ethanol will turn gaseous or turn solid, or when solid ethanol will turn liquid, and so on. They improved the building database entries to mention construction time and required materials. If you, for example, click on the comfy bed, view the full entry in the database, scroll down, you will see the build time of 10 seconds and the material needed, plastic 200 kg. The same goes for every other building, like the wood burner for example. Click on it, scroll down, a build time of 120 seconds and 800 kg metal ore required. For all of you sandbox users out there, they added sounds to most of the sandbox tools. They added an automation port to the manual red bolt generator, now allowing for this setup to be automated in a way. Interplanetary payload launcher will now accept red bolts even when their sky visibility is blocked, as indicated by the red symbol here. The exuberant mutation for the gas grass has been added back into the game, even though it is pretty hard to get it. This here are all normal seeds from these plants here. In the DLC only, you can now copy the settings of a fish feeder, and the settings for the mutated seeds will also be copied over. They made the solid ethanol liquefiable, so that you can build temp shift plates from them. Might not be the best idea to do so, though. They do have a melting point of minus 114 degrees Celsius, so you can only use them in very cold environments. They fixed a few smaller things, but let me summarize the ones that I find most notable. The pitcher pump no longer deletes liquid when the pumping task is interrupted. They fixed a bug that allowed the spice grinder to work outside of the kitchen. That is no longer the case. They fixed invalid temperature transfers occurring on the right edge of the world. What I mean with this is that they removed the Caro tuner from functioning, which is a design that looks kinda like this, that basically allows you to cool any liquid down to 0 Kelvin. They fixed an issue where red bolts traveling in vacuum would sometimes cause huge amounts of radiation. We used that in this contraption here, which is called the Red Bolt Regen. It produced a lot of radiation, basically in the millions of radioactive contaminants that could be used before they actually took it away. Now, this is useless. For the DLC only, they fixed the sponge slug off-gassing its stored materials. The same goes for the smog slug, they fixed that as well. Leave a like for all the update videos, subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and for more Luma content, check the suggestions at the end of the video. And now for those who don't know how to get the beta update version, here's a quick guide. The new update can be accessed by going to Steam, right-clicking Oxygen Not Included, going to Settings, then go to Betas, click on the drop-down menu next to the beta access, and as an option choose the public testing. After that the game can be updated to the current beta version. This might take a few seconds, and then you can start the game in the new version.